know. I gave mine to Lonnie. She doesn't know it yet, though. Hey, Nancy.
Good morning. Good morning and welcome. We're glad to have everyone here to participate in your county government. I'd like to recognize elected official District Attorney Dick Donovan for being here and his team of blue shirts. And at this time I will call, at 10 o'clock, I will call the Paulding Board of Commissioners April the 10th work session to order. And just grateful to have everyone. Brian, if you'll bring forward the citizens wishing to speak and silence your phones if you have one. Thanks, sir. We are honored to have Chaplain Tommy Leonard to come forward and bring us our invocation today and lead us in the pledge to the flag. He is an Army veteran.
Please stand. Thank you for allowing me to be here this morning, Commissioners. Let's pray together. Our Father and our God, we humbly bow before your throne of grace. And God, it is a wonderful privilege to come to you at this moment. We want to give you all the praise and glory that you and you alone are worthy of. There's nothing higher than you, and there never will be anything as great as you. And God, my prayer this morning is a prayer asking for forgiveness from you for the way that we behave towards you and our fellow brothers and sisters. And Father, we have all but removed you from our country, and we now see the effects of neglecting our personal and corporate relationship with you. Many have grown stagnant, bitter, and without hope. But God, you have not deserted us. The simple solution is found in your holy word in 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14 states loud and clear, "If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land." Father, we need that healing. But I pray this morning that you'll hear from heaven the prayers from your people in Paulding County, Georgia, asking for forgiveness and restoration. And you have blessed us with so much, Father. Lord, please be with our leadership, our county employees, our first responders, our military men and women. Protect them as they serve. And God, I ask that you would continue to bless us in a mighty way, and all that we would do would bring honor and glory to you. It is in the name of the spotless Lamb, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, that we humbly pray. Amen.
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 Let's pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Tommy. That's beautiful. The minutes from March 27th, 2018 work session and the March 27th, 2018 board meeting minutes are available for review. Not on your agenda, but on mine is an event that I want to highlight this morning, and I want to kind of keep it a secret because on a Good Friday, which was 2 Fridays ago, out at South Paulding High School, there was an ADAD, an Alcohol and Drug Awareness Day, that was phenomenal. And a couple of the post commissioners were out there and some of our staff. But I wanted to take a moment just to highlight that. I think it's so important to our county. Our very own county administrator, Frank Baker, here on the front row, Baker Street, has chalked up a total in Cobb County and Paulding County now 57 ADAD presentations, just using nationally known speakers and guests who make our young people and our students think about and take responsibilities for their decisions. As Richard Grant, I don't see him in the audience, but a writer for The New Era said, it reaches out to young people before it's already too late, and where they can make decisions that'll be the correct decisions and not poor ones that may cast a shadow over their entire lives. And we saw some cases in these speakers that you're seeing on the screen where it had affected their entire lives. Frank, his scheduling mixes fun with strong messaging to encourage better decisions toward the goals of leading to happier and more productive lives. It's a collaborative effort. Not only is the board involved, the court system involved, but our Board of Education, we collaborate with them. Our Sheriff's Office, our Fire Department, our public safety folks are there. Among our own staff, I just want to call out their names, and I may miss somebody, but Rebecca Meredith, Angela Ferris, Tabitha Pollard, Steve Mapes, Ashley Henson, Will Anderson, Matthew Stinchcomb, Jeff Harkins, who took this video, Robin Cooper, and Allison Bryant. We have in the county now 3 ADAD presentations per year, one at the high school level, the middle school level, and that one will be in just a few weeks at Scoggins Middle School, and also at the elementary school level. So this is a tremendous event, just one of the most important things I think that's going on in our county, and I wanted to celebrate it this morning. I also, Frank didn't know I was going to do this, but if he would like to say anything, or I just spoke with Steve Mapes, who had an interesting focus on it. At the end of the day, or the speakers, they had all the emergency equipment that was out in the parking lot. And Steve said that some of the students realized that maybe they would have a profession in that area. So I'll certainly give you a minute if you want to, just off the cuff, say something. I know you're modest and humble about this, and whether you say anything or not, we're going to get you and any of the others up here for a quick picture.
No pressure, Frank.
That's true. I absolutely did not know anything about this. Congrats to Jeff. There's some great video up there. I appreciate the kind words, but it's not about me. It's about the kids. I don't call them kids. I call them students. But it's about them, and that's why we do this. But it's a collaborative effort. A lot of folks are involved in this. It is a lot of work. And as you can see from that view right there, we had a lot of seats. And it was packed that day, which was great for the high school, because the high school is the toughest venue for us. It really is. My favorite is the elementary. They're like sponges, and it's really a great opportunity to get there. And there's a lot of reasons why I've done this program, a lot of reasons that got me started. But one of them is, and I'll be quite honest with you, is rip off and duplicate, which is something that I've grown to really appreciate from one of our department heads. And I remember when I was a small child in elementary school, which was just about 10 or 15 years ago. The message that I remember today is someone who's actually 57 years old in September, is I remember when the fire department came to my elementary school, and there were 2 things: stop, drop, and roll, and duck and cover. And if you can remember that, so many years later, something like this is important for us to do. So I got I'll just share this with you. I got a call, not a call, but I got an email, because we don't get calls anymore, we get emails and text. But I got an email from the principal at South, and he said he had received a couple of responses from some of the kids. And one of them was, I thought about what I learned today, and it made me a better driver coming home. And that wasn't the theme, but it was a carryover, and it made them aware. And that's what we're trying to do, is we're just trying to make them aware of the things out there. And so, it was, even if we just made a difference with that one student, it was all worth it. But anyway, and I'd love to have Steve come up, and Steve Mapes.
He would love to come up also spontaneously. Steve, you don't really need a microphone. You can turn around right here. I'm sure everybody will hear you. But whatever you want to do, pal.
Yeah, this was a privilege to be asked to do it, and I had no idea what I was getting into when Frank asked me, or maybe he asked my supervisor who told me to do it, and I thought, how am I going to get out of this? And I really did. That was my first reaction. It was Good Friday. It was a day off for me. But then I thought back 35 years ago to my high school, and I had a similar program. I have no idea who the speakers were this far back, but I can remember walking out of that day, and it changed my life. It changed my perspective on everything that I was doing from at that age and going forward. I remember walking out that day thinking, wow, I learned a lot. I don't remember what it is now, but I should have participated in this. And all the people that are in the room today that helped with this, I can't imagine how much work it was to get that laid out and set up leading up to the day. I basically walked in and stood up and spoke, which was very easy. So thank you to everybody who helped make it happen. And thank you to Frank for inviting me and putting it together. It really was a privilege. And it was a great day. Thank you for taking the time to recognize him and everybody involved.
Well, come on up if your name was called out and take a picture. Under announcements, there's mention of a Chairman's Corner, which has really been up and active for about 4 months. And it's just a place on our website, paulding.gov, where the chairman can try to get information out. The latest thing that we've done with department heads, we've done 4 department heads and have many more to go. But just a little 10-minute interview with the things that their department, that you need to know about what their department does. Maybe it has to do with elections like Deidre, or the budget like Tabitha here, but it's just practical information that they put out on the Chairman's Corner, and then allows me to talk about the low pressure problem that we had and explain that, to talk about all the emergency workers and the great job that they do. So that's what it's there for, and I invite you to look at it, try to get something on there a weekly or every other week anyway. The Board of Commissioners would like to present the National Crime Victims' Right Week proclamation to Paulding County District Attorney Dick Donovan. And I'm going to read the proclamation and then ask Dick if he would come forward and say a few words. The Paulding County Board of Commissioners, Dallas, Georgia, proclamation, National Crime Victims' Rights Week, April the 8th through the 14th, 2018, whereas Americans are the victims of more than 20 million crimes each year, and crime can touch the lives of anyone regardless of age, national origin, race, creed, religion, gender, sexual orientation, immigration, or economic status. And whereas many victims face challenges in finding appropriate services, including victims with disabilities, young victims of color, deaf and hard of hearing victims, LGBTQ victims, tribal victims, elder victims, victims with mental illness, immigration victims, teen victims, victims with limited English proficiency, and others. And whereas too many communities feel disconnected from the justice and social response systems and have lost trust in the ability of those systems to recognize them and respond to their needs. Victims of repeat victimization who fail to receive supportive services are at greater risk for long-term consequences of crime. Intervening early with services that support and empower victims provides a pathway to recovery from crime and abuse. Whereas honoring the rights of victims, including the right to be heard and to be treated with fairness, dignity, and respect, and working to meet their needs rebuilds their trust in the criminal justice and social justice system and restores hope to victims and survivors as well as their communities. And whereas National Crime Victims' Rights Week, April 8th through the 14th, 2018, is an opportune time to commit to ensuring that all victims of crime, even those who are challenging to reach or serve, are offered culturally and linguistically accessible and appropriate services in the aftermath of crime. And whereas Paulding County District Attorney Office Victim Witness Unit is hereby dedicated to serving victims, building trust, and restoring hope for justice and healing. Now therefore, be it resolved that David L. Carmichael, Chairman of the Paulding County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the week of April 8th through the 14th, 2018 as National Crime Victims' Rights Week, and reaffirm Paulding County's commitment to creating a victim service and criminal justice response that assists all victims of crime during Crime Victims Week and throughout the year. Mr. Donovan, thanks for being here with your team.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate that. As you pointed out, this is not Paulding County or the state of Georgia. This is a national observance. Members of the board, Ms. Pollard, Mr. Baker, we appreciate your recognition. This year's theme, as you will see from the posters that are all over the place, the theme is Expand the Circle, Reach All the Victims. Our victim witness staff will be walking every day this week in Veterans Park. They walked yesterday. They're going to walk today, and we invite you to join them today. There is a different organization featured every day this week. We will all be walking with them on Friday. To recognize, as Ms. White pointed out, not a protest. They're going to be carrying signs, but they want to bring recognition to Crime Victims' Rights Week. What I usually do when I come in here on this day every April is to read you a proclamation or some kind from some national organization, but I'm not going to do that this year. This year I'm going to do something a little different. I want to talk to you about numbers. Numbers dominate our lives. Ms. Pollard's heart just fluttered because she's thinking, finally, somebody gets it. Our culture is obsessed with numbers. I'm borderline OCD. Some people would argue about the borderline part, but I find myself counting my steps as I walk from the house out to the garage. Everyone has numbers in mind. Here are some examples of our obsession with numbers. Today is the 100th day of 2018. My calendar on my desk makes a point to tell me every day what day of the year it is. For Paulding County school children, that means 45 days till school's out. For ministers of the Christian gospel, it means 30 days until Ascension Day. I will not tell you the German for Ascension Day because some people think it's a vulgarity. It means 40 days until Pentecost, the celebration of the coming of the Holy Spirit. For pessimists, there's only 258 shopping days left until Christmas. For optimists, there's still 258 days left for shopping until Christmas. For dieters, it's more than an hour till lunchtime. For astronomers, it's billions and billions of stars. For those who follow the Judeo-Christian faith, there is one God. Although we all, in the Protestant and Catholic faith, follow the idea of a triune God, 3 in 1. For vacation planners, summer is 72 days away, officially. Some people can tell you how many days left until retirement. For some of you, thankfully not me, it's 42 days until the primary. I'm going to sleep in that day. Some younger people can tell you how many days until they turn 18 and can vote, or until they turn 21 and can go to somewhere and buy a drink. Some parents can tell you how long it is until they have an empty nest. These are numbers and statistics about which we can laugh and nod in agreement. Now, let me cite some eye-popping numbers that may make your head hurt. What Ms. Watson is giving you is a list of the cases we opened last year in Paulding County. 2,000 cases with 2,222 defendants. More important for the observance today is that there were 1,089 victims. That's this list, which I'm not going to give you because that's proprietary. You don't want to know, and we don't make that information available, but we can tell you 1,089 new victims last year in Paulding County alone. That does not include victims of crimes that we don't prosecute or investigate, like suicides. We service the victims of families involved in suicides because that's obviously someone who needs our help. Families, friends, and neighbors of suicides. These are reported crimes. How many do not get reported? These crimes and their victims diminish us as a community. These crimes and their victims diminish us as a society. These crimes and their victims diminish us all personally. Last week we observed the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. Here's what he said about how we should respond. Quote, "Never be afraid to do what's right, especially if the well-being of a person is at stake. Society's punishments are small compared to the wounds we inflict on our soul when we look the other way." Unquote. Now let me wash your minds out with some positive numbers. These 1,089 victims each had a file, and they were opened by the 11 members of the victim witness staff. Nicole is not here. She's in school. She's a part-time worker. But we have some others here. Brittany Swiney, been here for a year now. Caitlin Cole, been here for a year. Stephanie Walker-Harry, been here for a year. Miriam Oliveras has been a victim witness advocate for 2 years, although she's been in the office for longer than that. Carol Hall is our volunteer. She's been here for 2 years. Nate Barber, he hates it when I tell you this, my godson, has been doing this for 3 years. Ruth Ann Shaw, my good friend, has been doing this for 4 years. Angie Harden has been doing this for 4 years, although she's been in the office longer than that. Jennifer Pyatt has been doing this for 6 years. Julie Argo has been doing this for 15 years. And Jamie White, Victim Witness Coordinator, has been doing this for 19 years. That's nearly 60 years of service to the victims of crime. Let me give you one last number. That number is 2. 2 very often forgotten words. Quote, "He took the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, gave thanks, and gave them to his disciples." Gave thanks. We often forget to give thanks. But today I give thanks for these 11 people, faithful members of the victim witness staff who help all of the people of Paulding County by serving the victims of crimes committed here in Paulding County. I'm not ashamed to say that I thank God for these people every day. And we in the Paulding Judicial Circuit District Attorney's Office all give thanks to the Paulding County Board of Commissioners for appreciating the importance of recognizing Crime Victims' Rights Week each year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Some people are going to have to load that side, I think.
We have an announcement and another proclamation, which is next on your agenda, to the Boys and Girls Club. One of the board members, Wayne Glover, has just contacted us and said he won't be here until the afternoon meeting. So we're going to table that announcement and that recognition until this afternoon. The Board of Commissioners would like to present the National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week proclamation to Paulding County Emergency 911 Director David Mumford. And let me read this proclamation. Yeah, please. Proclamation, the National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. Whereas when an emergency occurs, which can be any time, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters depends upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Paulding County E911 Communications Center, and whereas public safety communications officers are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, and are the single most vital link for our emergency responders by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them with information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety communications officers of the Paulding County Emergency 911 Center have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients, processing over 300,000 emergency and non-emergency telephone and dispatch calls in 2017. And whereas each communications officer has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year, now therefore, I, David L. Carmichael, Chairman of the Paulding County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim April the 8th through the 14th, 2018, as National Public Safety Communicators Week in Paulding County in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our county and our citizens safe. You have any more to come up? Yeah.
We actually have representation here today.
Yesterday at the 911 Center, they had Decade Day, so they all picked a different decade to represent, and it was pretty cute. Thanks, everybody. Okay. David Mumford just said he has another part on the agenda, and he'll make his remarks inclusive to that presentation. Under invited, well, I got one other announcement that Commissioner Davis brought to my attention. Next Tuesday at Chattahoochee Technical, Building B, Technical University, from 5 to 7, there is a DOT public hearing to allow citizens, it's about the widening of 61. So any of you would like to attend that and make remarks, or any of you that watch this on Comcast, join into that. I know our DOT enjoys having as much representation there as possible. We have no invited guests today. Under bid awards, discuss action to award the purchase of the Heavy Technical Rescue Squad to the lowest responsive bidder, Rosenbauer, in the amount of $408,809. Ms. Pollard.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We had 5 participants in this process. 2 of them proposed a commercial chassis for the vehicle. That chassis was determined to be inferior safety features compared to the custom cab. So they evaluated the custom cab, and we had 3 of those proposed, and they're recommending award to the lowest of those 3, which is Rosenbauer, in the amount of $408,809.
Any questions of Tabitha?
Joey is here if you have any questions about the squad.
You have anything you want to tell us, Joey?
No.
Thanks. Good morning. How are y'all this morning?
Morning.
This is a big step for the department and for the citizens. We've never had a squad before. As Ms. Pollard stated, we did look at a commercial chassis and weighed the benefits, but we went with the custom chassis due to mainly safety factors for our personnel that are riding in this truck. It's constructed basically, it's about 36% stronger than a steel chassis or commercial chassis. And it's built for what it's going to do, and that's heavy and technical rescue. We'll have specialized equipment and special trained employees on this truck. It will have 4 on it, and they are trained in many different disciplines, and it's got everything centered on this truck to where we can respond quickly to these calls. So we're very excited about it. It's going to be located here in Dallas. It's going to take about 365 days to build it, since it is a custom truck. But we're very excited to have it. This is something we've been planning on for about 3.5 years, and we've had committees together with all the apparatus committees, with all the personnel, and a lot of input, and very excited about it. Glad to answer any questions.
Chief, I'd enjoy hearing 2 or 3 cases of where these are typically used.
Well, everybody, probably one of the biggest ones going to be extrication, technical extrication. Like I said, these guys, they're all trained in many different disciplines, from water rescue to hazmat response. They'll be responding to fires for rapid entry teams. They're going to be doing a lot of extrication. They're going to be responding to a lot of calls. It's going to be a 24/7 truck. This will also assist us in helping with ISO, with personnel responding out to the fires. So, but mainly I would say extrication is going to be a big one. And we have some of our, you're familiar with the GSAR team. We'll have some of our guys that are on the GSAR team will be on this truck too, and sharing all their knowledge to our personnel that have been training for about 3 years to prepare for this truck.
How fast will it go down the highway?
68 miles an hour, I believe, is top speed. So, but we don't want them to do that. So, we'd rather get there safely.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, under reports from committees and departments, 911 Director David Mumford with department updates.
Good morning.
Good
I just
morning.
reserved my what I was going to say for a few minutes. To come back up now. First off, I'd like to thank you for giving me a few minutes to recognize some of my employees that are here today. This is Telecommunicators Week, and we're going to recognize a few of them here in a second. But before I get into that, I left some call volume stats that you can, if you have some time for some light reading, there's a lot of numbers there. But to hit the high points, in 2017, the 911 Center processed 97,951 law enforcement dispatch calls, 19,330 fire dispatch calls. We answered 69,089 911 calls, 173,168 calls to our non-emergency line. That doesn't mean those were not necessarily emergency calls, but they came in on our non-emergency line. Some people use that instead of 911. And we processed 30 text to 911 calls. That was a combined total call volume of 359,598 calls. And the reason that those numbers are important is that each one of those calls was touched by at least one, if not more, of the communications officers. And so when we run 7 people on a shift, and we try and bring our staffing up during peak hours, all those calls were handled by one of our 38 employees. So each year, the second week of April is designated National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, and it's set aside to honor the men and women that work behind the scenes, answer the telephones, and make the radio calls to keep our first responders and our public safe. Like all other public safety, the communications officers work 24/7, 365 days a year. Holidays, weekends, when people are going home for the snowstorms, we're trying to get people to work. And so they serve as that lifeline between our responders and our callers. They go above and beyond every day to make sure that our calls are processed and dispatched and that our responders are kept safe. When most people call 911 for help, they really have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. They dial 911, answer a few questions, and law enforcement or fire responds, or EMS. The communications officers performing their job to the best of their ability. If it were not for them, the 911 Center wouldn't exist. We have that new building and facility that we moved into, all the equipment that's in it. If it wasn't for the folks that do the job, that building would really mean nothing. We wouldn't have a 911 Center. It's the folks that are there to do the job all the time. So they're generally the first contact that the public have with public safety. And so the impression that are made on callers by our communications officers are very long lasting, and they can sometimes determine the difference between a law enforcement officer walking into a bad situation. I mean, they can kind of help control that a little bit by the way they handle those calls. We a lot of our employees think that people don't really pay attention to what they do, but I want to assure them that they do. It's not just another job. It's something that a lot of people can't do. I know I couldn't do it these days. So, back when I actually sat behind a radio, it was a long time ago and a lot less traffic and not nearly as many people on the road. So, this is my 33rd year in public safety, and I can tell you without a doubt during my time in public safety that the folks that work at our 911 Center are some of the best, if not the best in the state. I put them up against anybody else. So, we're very blessed to have them on the end of that telephone or radio call. So at this point, I don't know if they figured it out yet, but some of these folks are actually here to get awards. They may have figured this out. So if I can have them come forward. Daniel Perrin, when I call your name, just come up front. So. Taylor Cantrell, Marion McAdams, Mary Jane Gillis, and Samantha Morris. You got to walk all the way up front. You got to get in front of everybody. This is the first. We have so each year during Telecommunications Week, we have people nominated for the various awards, and these are our 5 main awards, and they're voted on by their peers. And so they actually get their awards for 2017. So Daniel is being recognized as Rookie or Trainee of the Year. We still call them rookies. Taylor is being recognized as the Communications Officer of the Year. Marion is being recognized as the Trainer of the Year. Mary Jane Gillis is the Supervisor of the Year. And Samantha is being recognized as the Admin of the Year. So they were all voted on and selected by their peers. So congratulations.
More people got added.
Congratulations. We have a lot of stuff going on, so we've got to get back to work now.
Thanks, David. Next is Miss Ann Lippman, the Community Development Director, who will update us on building permits and business licenses, which is kind of new. Again, Commissioner Davis attended a Dallas City Council meeting, and they were doing this, and we spoke about it afterwards, and I think it's a great idea to just to kind of keep us up to date. So.
Thank you, and I did want to thank Commissioner Davis for inviting me to do this. I think the theme of today is obsessed with numbers, and I'm maybe a little embarrassed to admit that one of my favorite days of the month is the first day of the month when I get to run reports and look at all the numbers from the month before, so I'm happy to share some of this data with you guys today. As far as 2018 building permits.
That's a weird thing to admit, Ann.
I said I was slightly embarrassed to admit that. So as far as building permits, as for 2018, we've issued 1,451 permits so far. That breaks down, that covers everything from trade permits, which is electrical, HVAC, plumbing, all the way to a CO or a certificate of completion is technically considered a permit. But more interest would be what's single family detached and non-residential new and additions. So far we have issued 392 single-family permits with a value of almost $40 million and 43 non-residential permits with about $7.5 million in value. Historically, I've been tracking this. I actually have data that goes back to 2010. This graph, the blue shows the number of single-family permits and the red shows the number of non-residential permits. So you can see if you go back a few years further, this is broken down by quarter. The chart definitely shows going up. My next chart is the value, and I just wanted to point out two spikes here. This one here in the second quarter of 2015, that was when the two top floors of the hospital were permitted. There's a bigger spike when the permit for the hospital was initially issued, which was 2012. And then this big spike, which I always have a little asterisk, is the reservoir, which was $88 million in value, and that was first quarter of 2017. And as many of you know, we recently took over the business license division. I am constantly on a crusade to call it occupational tax certificates, because that's what it is. It is a tax on the revenue, or actually it's a tax on the number of employees that you have in our county. As of yesterday afternoon, we have 3,155 active business licenses. This year, we've issued 198 new licenses and renewed 533 for a total of 731. And you can see there the permit fees that we've collected. A little more information. The breakdown between occupational tax certificate, 2,318, or that is about 73% are home occupations, and then 27% or 837 or non-residential or commercial locations. And as far as the business licenses we've issued this year, NAICS stands for the North American Industrial Classification System, and that is something when everyone gets a business license or an occupational tax certificate, they pick the NAICS number that they fall under. And they have these major categories: utilities, construction, etc. And the top three that we've had this year is construction, which was number one with 44 licenses, retail, 39 licenses, and administrative and support with 28 licenses. So I hope you enjoyed a few more numbers for the rest of your morning, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them, and I'll be...
Can you roll down the screen where you showed the 198 new ones? Go back.
Yeah.
Okay. So the 533 is renewals.
Mm-hmm. Renewals start, that business license cycle, they start renewing in October.
Right.
So a lot of them are wrapping up in
Okay.
January.
Okay. But that's 198 new.
Yes.
Okay.
That stay pretty even month to month?
We've only been around it for 2 months directly, so as you can see, February and March was exactly the same. So it'll be interesting to track that as we continue working with business licenses the rest of this year.
I'll just say thank you, Ann, for putting that together and being willing to do that. We're going to be doing that going forward, the first board meeting of the month in the work session. And I threw this at Ann a little bit last minute, and I said, I know it's last minute, but like if you could just read some numbers and share with us, that'd be great. She says, well, I have to do graphs. And so you don't have to do graphs, and she said, and I quote, you can't make me talk about numbers and not let me do graphs. But thank you for thanks for doing this. I think it's great to have these numbers seen so we can see what's going on and keep it in front of our minds.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thanks much.
Thank you.
Under public participation on agenda items, we have no one who's signed up this morning. Under the consent agenda item, discuss action on 4 consent agenda items. Number 1 is to approve the intergovernmental agreement with the Paulding County School District to air the Board of Education regularly scheduled meetings on the Comcast Public Access Channel. Number 2 is to reappoint Brenda Paris Thornton to the Taltuna CAP Incorporated Board of Directors for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2020. Number 3 is to appoint Harold Lennon-Cole to the Paulding County Industrial Building Authority with a term ending December 31st, 2019. And number 4 is to appoint Mr. Chris Wheeler to the Paulding County Fire Advisory Board as Commission Post 4 representative with a term ending December 31st, 2018. Would any of the commissioners like to move any of the consent agenda to our regular business?
Yes, sir. Please move number 3 to regular business.
Okay. Number 3 will move forward to new business number 6. And under old business, we have none. Under new business, discuss action to authorize the chairman to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation in the amount of $187,500 for 50% of the preliminary right-of-way phase estimate cost for the replacement bridge on Morningside Drive over Mill Creek. Mr. Jones.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let me give you a little background on this. It shouldn't take you any more than 20 minutes or so to go through it. In March 2017, the Georgia Department of Transportation approached the county with an offer to include a replacement bridge on Morningside Drive over Mill Creek on their local bridge replacement program. The local bridge replacement program identified candidate bridges based on condition and strength of the bridge. Currently, the existing bridge is restricted for 3 types of trucks. A replacement bridge is required to upgrade the bridge to a point where posting of weight restrictions is no longer needed. At the time, we expressed an interest in putting this bridge on the program. The program requires that local governments agree to contribute 50% of the preliminary right-of-way cost estimate, with GDOT paying the remainder of the right-of-way cost along with engineering, construction, utility relocations. For this project, the GDOT estimate is $3,495,000. The preliminary right-of-way cost estimate is $375,000. 50% of that preliminary right-of-way cost estimate is $187,500, which GDOT is requesting from Paulding County. Of that $187,500, that's approximately 5.4% of the total cost. This is a good deal for the county. I recommend going forward with this. And right now, the construction timeline shows as year 2022 for construction lead. So if there are any questions, I'll be able to answer them hopefully.
You put a bunch of stuff in the backup. I think you probably answered all of our questions.
Moving on to number 2, discuss action to authorize the chairman to enter into a contract with Kinsley Horn in the amount of $341,586.41 for preliminary engineering design services for the Bobo Road, Macklin Road, and Bobo Road, Mount Tabor Church Road intersection improvement projects.
Okay. In November 2017, we requested approval from the board to go into a conceptual design phase with Kimley Horn on these projects. We finished that phase. Kimley Horn was able to validate our internal thoughts and ideas that roundabout projects would work at the Bobo Macklin and Bobo Mount Tabor Church Road intersections. In the conceptual phase, we're able to modify some of the geometrics that were needed to make this project work over a 20-year timeline. We were able to basically come up with a horizontal layout showing how the roundabouts would fit in with the adjacent parcels, roads, features. We've had good results working with Kimley Horn overall on our projects. Their cost proposals are in line with other engineering firms for roundabouts of similar locations and areas. Their staff has been responsive, offers sound and creative designs, and so far we've been able to solve any problems that we've worked with on any other project. These intersections have been on the county's radar for a long time since I've worked here in 2004, and I believe that with this proposal it's warranted to go forward into the design phase. The cost estimate is $341,586.41 and has a 19-month completion timeline for the preliminary engineering phase.
It's all about the roundabouts.
You know, they work.
They do.
I'll put an elevator if it'll work, but
These two are about 200 yards apart.
Yeah, they're pretty close, and that's the problem. We've looked at other concepts in the past where you had a signal at one and unsignalized at the other, but it just never really worked out as well as we'd like it. And like I said, the roundabouts right now just appear to be the best solution.
I've been getting good feedback from people in the area who say, "What can we do about traffic in this area?" And I tell them we're working on it, and that'll be a good thing. Traffic gets backed up there when it's congested, and it'll be good to keep traffic moving.
Exactly, I agree.
So 19 months is summer after next. Okay, just keep your spot there, Director. Number 3 is discuss action to authorize the chairman to enter into a contract with Kimley Horn in the amount of $283,509.19 for preliminary engineering design services for the Gold Mine Road at State Route 101 intersection improvement project.
This location is in Post 2 in southwest Paulding County. Currently State Route 101 and Gold Mine Road operates as a two-way stop-controlled intersection. Again, this location has stood out as an improvement project for quite some time due to the non-standard traffic geometrics at this location, along with the other intersections down the corridor like Holly Springs Road and Crossroads Church. Some of the intersections come in at skewed angles. Sight distance isn't great. So again, we've looked at this for some time, and we've had citizen concerns about what's out there. We had issued a request for proposals for conceptual engineering at this location, and from that RFP and in-person interviews, Kimley Horn was selected at the time from a group of 6 engineering firms as the firm offering the best personnel, expertise, and experience to engineer the conceptual design phase for this project. At the time, we entered into agreement with Kimley Horn, and they provided us conceptual designs for this section of Highway 101. From that report, a traffic signal design and a roundabout concept was prepared. Looking at the plans, the consensus internally was that the roundabout offered a better solution for that area. We were able to hold a public information open house in November of 2017. We were able to show residents who were interested what was going out there, and for the most part, the general consensus was that the roundabout was a preference versus a traffic signal. We've been working with GDOT in conjunction with this project as State Route 101 is a state highway, and they've been supportive of what we're trying to do, and so far they've also been supportive of the roundabout proposal. Like I said, this project will address the intersection site distance at State Route 101 Holly Springs Road, along with adding a left turn lane at the intersection of 101 and Crossroads Church, and also realigning 101 and Gold Mine. The cost for the preliminary engineering is $283,509.19, and this project also has a 19-month schedule for completion. Are there any questions?
I don't have any questions here. I would like to make one statement. Both of these items, numbers 2 and 3, are with Kimberly Horn. Previously, I have abstained from voting when Kimberly Horn was involved because of a close family member employed by Kimberly Horn. That conflict no longer exists, so I'll be able to vote on these this afternoon.
Just like to make note, this is in post 2. Roundabout in post 2, the whole thing's in post 2.
Post 2.
The whole thing. And there are a lot of folks out there seriously that are excited about that. If you've ever been to that intersection, that's kind of a tough intersection, no matter where you're going or coming or anything else. So, but that is in post 2. The whole thing burning's in post 2.
Yeah, I hear you.
The whole thing.
You're working on that though, George, right?
Post 3 has a bridge. I mean, Tony,
Okay.
Number
should
2
be
is in
left
post 1,
out.
Vernon.
I'm excited for the citizens out there. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, George. Number 4 is discuss action to approve the agreement for use of facilities for early voting and election day polling locations between Paulding County Board of Elections and Voter Registration, Paulding County Board of Commissioners, Grace Point Church, Paulding County School District, and Westridge Church. Ms. Holden, thank you for being here.
Good morning. How
Good
is
morning.
everyone
Morning.
this morning? This is just housekeeping. We just need to have these agreements with our locations that we'll be using for Election Day voting precincts, as well as some early voting polling locations. You have the contracts in front of you, and that's what I'd like to present this morning to you. Do you have any questions?
I thought I'd add that this is the same contract form that we used in previous election years. That has not changed.
Ms. Holden, I'd like to take a moment to commend you and your board for dealing with some of the contentious calls, phone calls about one of the locations that you all had suggested that has a runway beside it. You know, I know we all know it's very difficult to find adequate locations with parking, and that's a facility that is easy to set up in, and then you run out of time because you had to get your letters out of precincts. So I just commend you for keeping your eye on the ball, keeping your eye on the objective and the mission, and not letting any politics interfere. And also, whatever citizens did complain, I hope that the citizens that maybe are a little inconvenienced by having to go somewhere else will not be too inconvenienced.
Well, the most important thing to us is that we, the integrity of the elections in Paulding County is never questioned, because that's something that I'm very big on, because elections play a huge role in this county, and I want people to come out and vote. I would never do anything to hinder them from doing that. We will welcome them here at the courthouse facility. I would like to say we are in the process of testing the voting machines right now downstairs in the cafeteria. If anybody would like to go see that process, it's open to the public. And also, just an update, we are almost in the completion process of mailing out over 104,000 precinct cards to notify our voters of all of these changes. We have about 30,000 more that should go out today, and people will be notified. So we're geared up and ready to go. It's almost here. So if y'all have any questions, any comments, please let me know. Come to the office. We'll show you around. Anything you need.
Thank you, and thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Number 5 is discuss action to adopt Resolution 18-16, readopting and affirming the 5 ethical principles of a certified county of ethics as recognized by the Georgia Municipal Association, GMA.
The board may recall, well, I guess Todd and Sherman Carmichael will recall that in 2009, the county did an overhaul of its code of ethics, And in doing so, we became the first county government that was recognized for its code of ethics. This is a readoption of that because it had expired. And so we are going to readopt the same form. And it does have a paragraph that I'd like to read for you. It's the now therefore. It says, now therefore the Board of Commissioners hereby readopts and affirms that it is the policy of the county that its officials, employees, appointees, and volunteers conducting official county business serve others and not themselves, use resources with efficiency and economy, treat all people fairly, use the power of their position for the well-being of their constituents, and create an environment of honesty, openness, and integrity. And those are the 5 principles that the resolution heading refers to.
Questions, comments? New business item number 6 is now consent agenda item number 3, appoint Harold Lennicole to the Paulding County Industrial Building Authority with a term ending December 31st, 2019. Since I put this on the consent agenda, a couple of items, it goes back 8 days when I put out my intention to nominate Mr. Lennicole for this position. The IBA has been without a 6th member for about 2 years, so it's not a full fleshed out board. 4 of the positions are mandated by state law. One of those 4 is non-elected, which is the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, and the other 3 are the mayors and the chairman of the Board of Commissioners. So 2 are nominated, and so I felt like it was important and my responsibility to have that nomination made. Mr. Lennicole was actually mentioned more than a year ago, but was pretty much voted out because he was doing some part-time consulting with Michael Baker, who did the environmental assessment on the airport, and he has since broken all ties with Michael Baker and has his own LLC consulting company. So he's a very qualified man. He's not going to get any more qualified than he is today.
Well, I say, Dave, the reason I asked to bring this off of the consent agenda to the new business, we had an email, you and I did, I believe it was Thursday evening, and I told you I was going to reach out to him. At that time, this item was not on the agenda that we'd received in our Dropbox from Rebecca earlier that day, so it was my understanding that you had intended to put him on the 2nd meeting for this month, 2 weeks from today. And so I have not had a chance to talk to him about the resolution of the conflict of interest that previously existed. And so my intention with moving this to new business today is to ask this board to table it until the next meeting, in our 2 o'clock meeting.
Well, as you remember in my email 8 days ago, the last statement was that I was presenting it to you in time to give him a phone call or read his resume so that it would not be tabled or he would not be voted down. You know, I don't like to bring anybody up and then they get voted down.
No, I understand that, and if that's what you said, I misread it, and I apologize for that.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I've got some comments I'd like to make. I've got 3 reasons, and I've jotted them down while Dave was talking. The first one was a promise was made. You know, Dave, when you first got elected and came on board as the chairman, we kind of had a conversation between you and I know that conversation transpired about, I think, between everybody else on this board, that we were going to have some differences of opinion on these boards and who should be elected for them. And we kind of came to the agreement that it'd be give and take in fairness of unity and working together for the county. We'd let you have one and you'd give us one. Okay? You brought to us David Small for the Airport Authority, and we put David Small on there. You'd made a promise to me that we'd put Jason Anapatardi on the IBA. You also made that promise to Jason. You met with him and you promised him that you would nominate him for that. You didn't honor that promise, I still think you should honor the promise. Jason's running for an office now, so he would not be a person that we would want to do that. But I still think you need to allow us to have someone that we have some say-so in, that shows that we are working together as a board, that there is unity, okay? So now there's plenty of people out there that are qualified. Maybe Harold Linico would be a good guy. I talked to him. I actually liked the guy. I thought he was pretty sharp. But that also leads to the second thing they wrote down, which is the conflict of interest. Mr. Linico did have a conflict of interest because he was working for Michael Baker. Now, I do understand that he has severed that tie. I work for a company that does retirement planning, retirement systems. They could actually handle the county here. They could handle the school system here. And when I told them I was running for office, I had to get their okay. They told me, we'll let you run for office, one condition, you sign a piece of paper saying while you're in office, you will not do business with the county. I think that's fair. But the piece of paper I signed went on to say, not only that, but after you get out of office, you can't do business with the county for 2 years. I think that's ethics. I think that's sharp. I'd like to apply that same standard to Mr. Linico. He may be well qualified, but he still has a tie with Michael Baker. Just because he quit working there a few months ago doesn't mean he's not going to still have friendships and relationships that he cultivated while he was there. The third thing I wrote down was the lawsuit. I hope it's okay to say this. I don't know. I think whoever gets appointed to one of these boards is going to be...
I laugh because it's hard for me to tell you whether it's okay
Yeah, I
because
know.
I don't know what you're
I
going
always
to
do
say.
that. I know. And correct me if I'm wrong. And we talked about this before when with another person that we did not, that you decided not to do because you didn't want it to happen. But I think as soon as he gets appointed to that board, he's going to be served. Is that not true?
That's not our suit. So I don't
No,
know.
it's not our suit.
No,
It is
I
not.
don't know the answer
It
to
is
that.
not our suit. But I
It's
think
not
that's a
our suit.
possibility.
It's possibly a possibility because that relates to the suit that was brought by those citizens. So I don't know. We're not a part of that suit.
And I don't know if that's been discussed with him and if he would be okay with that. So I just think it should be brought to his attention before, if he does not know that.
On your first comment, Mr. Collette, there was no promises to Mr. Anavitardi to be on any board. I suggested to him that I thought he would help the county and be effective on the EDO board, but I've never had a conversation with him about being on the IBA board. It was the EDO board, which I think he would add a lot to. On the maybe continued ties with Michael Baker, and I mentioned this last year, in a situation like that, any mature, experienced person is just going to recuse himself, just like Ron brought up that he wasn't going to vote on Kimley Horn just because of a close relative. So Mr. Linico is the type of person that would not leave any room for error or misunderstanding or misrepresentation. He would just say, well, I just won't vote on that. So, the lawsuit, I can't remember if there's been a conversation about that or not. The man is 38-year Paulding County resident with 47 years of experience in organizational management, budgets, communication, motivation, establishing a rapport and working relationship with government officials, colleagues, and other stakeholders. Has the ability to effectively interact with the public and convey information and organizational goals. His vast experience in dealing directly with state legislature and executive branch leaders. He was the commissioner of the DOT for 5 years. He was the assistant commissioner for 3 years. He worked with DOT for a number of years. He's a Vietnam veteran. Married to his wife Linda for 35 years. He lives out off of Mean Mitchell Road, off of Ridge Road. He's got several awards. Recipient of the James Codron Award, Federal Highway Administration, past president of AASHTO, the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials. past president of Southeastern Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, past member of the Transportation Research Board of the National Academy's Executive Committee. I already mentioned Vietnam, in the Army, and served on the Southern Polytech State University before it merged into Kennesaw on that board. I don't know how I find anybody more qualified. He actually had lunch with Robert Reynolds and Robert Krause and Stacy Hamby last week, and their comments were positive. So I would like to move this along and flesh out that board. And so I would like to not have it tabled. I'd like to have it voted on at 2 o'clock.
30 seconds to rebut. Back to the promise. I think we did talk about the IBA with Jason, but that's really not the point. The point is that you had promised, and I think everybody on this board would agree that in the fairness of unity, the spirit of unity, you were going to have say-so on one, and you were going to give the rest of say-so on one, because we knew there was going to be disagreement on these boards, and we were going to show that we were working together. If that's the case, this would be the next person, which would go to us. You have not asked us who we'd like to have. I can assure you we can find someone who's qualified to be on that board.
I'll go ahead and chime in. Sometimes I hear out in the public, you know, we need unity and we need to get along and whatever. If we're just to be up here to get along just to get along, that's not the program. We're up here to do the business of the county. Mr. Carmichael, Vernon's correct. We said in the name of unity that we would take care of some of these positions on these boards and we would kind of take turns. Nobody has said that Harold is anything but a great person. I think we've all met him at one time or another. His bio's wonderful, but Harold's one person, and last time I checked, there's another 159,999 people in Paulding County we could pick from. It has nothing to do with Harold. He had a relationship with the Michael Baker Group. The airport authority now has got a lot of work to do on the environmental assessment. A lot of work to do. And Michael Baker's going to be doing it. I think it's a bad decision on your part, and it doesn't show unity that you want to work with us. See, people say, well, y'all need to get along and the board needs to work together, and we do work together. Look at the voting record that's out there. Look at what we've done. We do get along. There's one hot topic button that happens to be in my post, and I can tell you since you've come in office, you have brought it up every single time since January 1 of 2017. You have, not us, because we've tried our best to keep it out of the public. When it comes to the disagreeing, and you continue to bring it up, I'm not going to just sit here and not say anything concerning it. You did make some commitments to Jason. You made commitments on EDO, you made commitments on the IBA, you made commitments to me that said we would work together to get through the controversy when it comes to the IBA and the Airport Authority boards, and we have one on there, on the Airport Authority, that you committed to me in January 17 that we would fix, that we would make it right. We would put somebody else on there that we could all agree with. We wouldn't just leave this person on that board just to leave them on there. Because it says that if the position doesn't get filled by a vote, the other person continues to stay on the Airport Authority board. So that person has continued to stay on there. They've been on there, continually staying on there for 2.5 years. And we can fix that. That's what I call unity. We did give you David Small, and you did promise me that it would be a give and take, and you would ask for one, and then we could ask for one. That's what you said. That's what you said, and some people say, don't go out there and fuss about it in public. Well, the fact of the matter is, when you go back behind closed doors and somebody tells you something, and then it don't happen in public, where else are you going to deal with it?
That's right.
I am not going to sit here and continue to deal with, you shouldn't have brought him back up. We let you know how we feel. He's not going to get any more qualified, and he can't change anything to go back and say he didn't work for the Michael Baker Group. And we don't need to argue about it. We don't need to argue
No,
about
we
it.
don't, but I need to fulfill my responsibilities, and the idea that I said I would nominate one and then let you all come up with one for the other. We've got tapes of everything. If you can find that on tape, I'll take you out to steak dinner.
It's not the idea. The fact is that you said it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Find where I said it. I didn't-
So
I
we
did
have
not
to
say
we
that
have to
I would do
record
that.
things when we get together for lunch or coffee. We have to record things on tape in order for you to honor it.
The
You're
nomination
doing
from-
this, not me.
From
You're
state law, the nomination goes to the chairman. I'm making a nomination, which is my responsibility, and you're not willing to accept my nomination. And I can't think of anybody, I should nominate the person I think is the most qualified and has the personality to work with staff and to work with the rest of the board. That's why I wanted them to have lunch with him the other day. And to give their input.
You wanted us to have lunch with him?
I wanted you to be able to get to know him and
So-
see that he would be the quality, type quality person.
So you brought that up, so
that
I'm
he
going to
is.
continue on. You brought it up, I don't know, almost 2 o'clock the day before, and you asked for us to have lunch. Obviously, you had verified it with the other people that were in the email that they could do it. But you didn't take the time to verify it with any of us. In less than about 15, 18 hours later, we were supposed to have, two of us were supposed to have lunch. And our schedule was already full. It was already committed.
And I apologize.
And it really-
I apologize to Vernon for a late notice on that. It was originally supposed to be the IBA members, and as an afterthought, of course, only 2 of y'all could have joined him. But I was sorry it was last minute, but you know, that's really not a factor, because you can call somebody and talk with them, or you can come up with a way to meet with them on your own. So obviously, you don't want him, and, you know, I don't know what else to do as far as fulfilling my responsibilities.
It's easy to find something else to do. It's to work with us and pick somebody else. It's not that we don't want Harold, all right? He has a conflict when it comes to the Michael Baker Group. Nothing's changed from last year when we talked about it. For you to bring it up again today, when you send out an email to have lunch, having lunch with him is not going to change the fact that there's a conflict with him with Michael Baker Group.
And my email, Todd, explained fully there was no more connection with the Michael Baker Group, that he was independent and he has his own LLC. And this is too painful for me personally and for the board and for our citizens. I'm trying to do what I'm required to do by state law. And, you know, you can try to bring up things that you say I said or I didn't say, but I know in my heart where I stood on it. And it's my responsibility to nominate, not the post commissioners.
Yeah, I'd like to say something. First of all, I appreciate you keeping us commissioners as an afterthought. We're the ones voting, and I feel like we probably should have been the first ones that you call. Second, the conflict still bothers me. I like the idea that my company tells me I have to wait 2 years after I get in office to try to do business with the county. Man, that's good ethics. That's the way you should be. I think we need to apply the same thing to this. I'm not saying I would not vote for him, but you did promise me in your office that you would kind of do a give-take. You also promised Jason Anavatari that you would nominate him. Are you going to disagree that you did promise him that?
I did not promise him that.
You did promise him that. Okay. I don't need to say anything else then because I see where we are.
So we leave it on there as my nomination.
Yeah, it's on there.
It's on there. We're voting on it at 2 o'clock.
Item 6, yeah, it'll be there.
It'll be there.
All right.
I've got an announcement to make if you're toward the end of the meeting here. We got Nancy gonna speak. I'll go ahead and let Nancy speak, I guess.
We have to see the conclusion of regular business, and then you have to move Nancy at the executive session.
All right, that is the conclusion of our regular business, and we do have Ms. Hollingshed who's requested public participation on non-agenda items. Is there a motion that she go ahead of the executive session?
I'll make a motion that we go ahead with the public participation on non-agenda items before our executive session.
Have a motion by Commissioner
Second.
Davis, second by Commissioner Collette. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
One thing I want to say that Ms. Deidre said earlier, I also, the integrity of the elections is the most important thing we have going on in Paulding County, and that's one of the things that we in the Republican Party also work hard for. One of the things that we do in the party is to, we like to shine our great candidates that we have running in the Republican primary. And one of the ways we do that is by doing debates. We have one debate tonight, Chattahoochee Tech, 7 o'clock, post 2 and post 3. We have another debate on Thursday night. This time is at 6:45, Chattahoochee Tech, the Board of Education candidates, and then post 4 candidates. We are videoing this. That will be put out on social media and anywhere else we can put it. We'll be sharing it like crazy because it is the only way a lot of the citizens get a chance to compare their candidates. I will tell you that our moderator is Louis Hunter from Cobb County. He's part of the Cobb County Republican Party, and I know he's got a lot of other credentials that he's given me. Our panelists that will be asking questions, former commission chairman from Cobb County, Bill Byrne, Deputy Commissioner of Juvenile Justice for the state of Georgia, Michael McNeely. He's also a 2-term first vice chair of the Georgia Republican Party. And then we have this guy named Rocky Swan that's part of the Paulding County Republican Party. He's been a past chairman and a second vice chair right now, and there's not a better, more honorable man than Rocky. So we'll also be having cards out in the atrium there for the attendees of the debate that can put questions in, and those questions will also be asked. We will not allow any what we call gotcha questions. This is not about getting anybody. This is about informing the citizens. So like I said, we've worked very, very hard to make sure the integrity of these debates are out there and that the election goes off very smoothly. I'm going to lead you with one little verse from Proverbs. I like Proverbs. And I'm going to read you from the New Living Bible, which puts it pretty quite simply. It says, intelligent people are always ready to learn. Their ears are open to knowledge. So the only way you're going to get to know your candidates really well and compare them to see if they fit your values and your priorities is to come to these debates. So I invite you all to come.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Nancy. I'll be there.
So we do have need of executive session for real estate and personnel.
I'd like to make a quick announcement, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
On Thursday, I believe it's April 26th. Now I'm questioning myself. Yes, Thursday, April 26th, I'm going to have a get-together town hall at the new Mulberry Rock Park. It's going to start at 6 p.m. The town hall is going to start at 7 p.m. And anyway, just wanted to make that announcement that I will be out there 6 p.m. Mulberry Rock Park Thursday night, April 26th, and we'll have a town hall at 7 p.m. Thank you.
So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session and state the reasons, please.
I'll make a motion, we go into executive session for real estate and personnel.
A motion by Commissioner Pownell, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Collette. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned for executive session.
Doris is coming in.
All right, Vernon, you gotta take a picture with George.
Yeah. Hey, George, I hear we need to have our picture made together.
I just wanna make sure people know there's two of you.